Gents, once again, let's look up and down the table. Match week 37 preview and predictions. Let's look at all 10 games coming up in the penultimate, I can't believe that, penultimate weekend of the season. I cannot believe we're actually here. And there is a lot that still needs to be decided up and down the table, even though we have some clarity and a bit more than we probably thought we would heading into this part of the season, because it's been wild for the last few months. The title race, pretty much sealed at this point. Man City at home against Chelsea. And then Arsenal away at Nottingham Forest, as we spoke about on PST this week. Equation is simple for Man City. Win at home against Chelsea on Sunday. They are crowned Premier League champions for a third straight time, fifth in the last six seasons. Pep Guardiola's side purring right now, battered Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-final to reach the final. The historic treble is on. Just going to say it. I think I'm saying what we're all thinking. An easy home win for Man City against Chelsea this week. So they'll have the title wrapped up. The only way they will have it wrapped up before their game on Sunday, Nick Mendola, is if they see Nottingham Forest upset Arsenal and beat them. Is it much of an upset, though, at this point? Because Forest are actually trending in a bit of an upward direction, right? And Arsenal are just really scrambling and obviously losing to Brighton 3-0. Basically, that was that for their title hopes last time out. This would be interesting to see the kind of reaction we get from Arteta's side at the City ground, won't it? Because pretty much everything's done, everything's figured out. Arsenal are going to finish second. It was a great season. But are we going to see them feel a bit sorry for themselves away at Forest? And Forest need the points in their scrap against relegation. So what do you think? Forest against Arsenal.
If they do appear to feel sorry for themselves, I will be shocked. I mean, I understand that there's been a collapse of sorts. And I understand that Forest has looked better. Significantly better. But the Arsenal team we've seen, the general mentality around the club, and even some of the letdowns that they've had have been to some better teams. Brighton's pretty good. I really think that you'll probably see Arsenal come out with a fairly comfortable performance, if not scoreline, at the City ground. And again, I know Forest has been better. I'm a big fan. Lodi and Morgan Gibbs-White, and I like who they can be, but I can't imagine. I can imagine a scenario in which Arteta's team doesn't show up, but not if we've bought into Arteta in any reasonable way, which I have.
Yeah, I have too. I can kind of see a draw coming up in this game. Andy, is there you don't seem convinced about Arsenal now, right? You think they've gone?
Look, we've done a lot of praising City this week, and rightfully so. What they did against Madrid and this season and to set themselves up for the treble it's incredible. It's historic, potentially. Arsenal have played their part, though. They have played a massive part of that. 2 wins in their last 7 in the league. We were talking percentages about Arsenal a month and a half ago, and we were not talking 50-50 or maybe slightly in their favor. We were talking 70 and 75 and 80% Premier League champion favorites, and they have played their part down the stretch. And to Nick's point, you lose to City. Obviously, there's no harm in that. Brighton have shocked a lot of teams this season and just completely overwhelmed them in that game. But the draw against West Ham, the draw against Southampton as well, were big signs of what was to come from this team. And just for a second season in a row, in a perfect position through 30 games or so, and then just completely, I don't know how you use a word other than collapse down the stretch. And it's a young team, and they'll learn. But they have played their part, and so I wouldn't be shocked to see Forest get something out of this game, or at least take it to the very end, and force Arsenal to really grind it out.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think even the most ardent Arsenal fan can agree with it hasn't gone well the last month or so. William Saliba's injury, tiredness, whatever you want to bring into it. It's still a fantastic season for Arsenal, but hasn't ended the way they wanted once again. If we look at the top 4 in European spots, lads, there's still a lot to sort out there. Man United are away at Bournemouth. You would think they would get a win there. Bournemouth have, again, kind of a joke, but I said it to Nick last week. They're on the beach a little bit. They stayed up, and they obviously geographically are on the beach. But they're just chilling right now. They're figuring it out. And they're very excited just to be a Premier League team for next season. Man United need the win. They kind of know, Newcastle, Liverpool right there with them. But this feels like a win for United in a game where their stars pop up and just deliver. But Nick, when we look at Liverpool against Villa, this is potentially the most fun game of the weekend. I think Liverpool, the run they're on right now, and the run Aston Villa are on really throughout the second half of the season under Unai Emery. And, Villa are right in the hunt for a top 6 finish and European spot once again. What's it, the first time in think it's like 13 years that they would qualify for Europe if they can do it. So there's a lot riding on this, but Liverpool seem pretty unstoppable at the moment, and they figured it out defensively and in midfield and look a lot more balanced.
Yeah, they're up to 70 goals this year as well. And that's the one thing. You got to outscore Liverpool at this point. And right now, the way that they're firing, and especially the way Mohamed Salah looks. I mean, granted, I know he got an assist for backheeling a free kick, essentially. But that was a 3-assist game for a player who is on the verge of another 20-goal season. And it perhaps quietly put in as good of a team of the year type performance as you're ever going to see. As quietly as you're going to see someone put in that performance. This team is firing really well, and they've done everything to keep the pressure on Newcastle and Manchester United. But how do you overlook Aston Villa? And so I think this game does have the potential to be whatever you want it to be. It could go in absolutely any direction, but it's difficult to see Liverpool fading with just, they've got a chance to finish their season on double-digit wins and say, yep, we figured it out. We had injuries early. We had some midfield pro early. We're going to buy a midfielder, and then we're right back in the title hunt next year. And I don't think they let that go.
No, I agree with you. I think narrow Liverpool win, but I think Villa will push them all the way at Anfield, and it's set up for a brilliant, brilliant spectacle as both teams push for Europe late in the season. When we look at two other teams pushing for Europe, Andy, Spurs and Brentford, still mathematically possible Brentford could sneak in. Obviously rocked by the Ivan Toney news this week that he'll be banned for 8 months due to breaching FA betting rules. So they got to figure out a way to play about him for most of next season. And they looked pretty good against West Ham doing that with Visa, Shada and Mbuemo up top. But Spurs just, I don't know, every week it feels like we swing from one way to the other with them right now. So inconsistent. But they still have a chance of, being in the Europa League, and that would be a decent season given everything that's gone on for them. But I said this to you a while ago. It's almost better for Tottenham not to be in Europe next season to help them rebuild and a new coach come in and bring in a new philosophy. But you're shaking your head. I feel like you don't agree with that.
Maybe. I don't know. It depends on the sporting director. It depends on who's in charge of everything, because you can be in Champions League next season if you're Spurs and have an extra, 70, 80, 90 million to spend next summer. And if you've got the wrong person that's spending it, it doesn't matter one bit. It doesn't matter if you have Champions League to attract top players, because Spurs have had Champions League to attract top players for 5 or 6 seasons in a row, or outside of one season, I suppose. And they have let the squad stagnate and become what it is right now. So there's a massive rebuild on the horizon for Spurs. I don't know that Champions League or Europa League or Conference League or no European competition at all matters. And I don't know. I don't see any life from this team at the moment, outside of Harry Kane, who just continues to add on goals. And, who knows? Maybe this is his final home game in North London. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions right now, and I kind of see Brentford giving them a lot of trouble, just the way that they press and the way that they outwork teams. You talk about a team that's kind of on the beach already. I would say Spurs have those vibes about them for sure. So I kind of see Brentford getting something out of this one. Maybe a 2-2 draw.
There you go. Spurs got the flip-flops on and the towel underneath their arm, and they're heading for that sun lounger. Brighton against Saints, again, another team on the beach. This is a real theme of this weekend show. Brighton, I think, are going to win that easily. Obviously, they're scrapping for European football, historic for them. They look so good under Roberto De Zerbi against Arsenal. And Saints, my beloved Saints, are down. We spoke about that at the top of the show. Nothing but pride left to play for, and just been outmatched all season long. So I see an easy Brighton win in the South Coast derby coming up there. And Fulham against Palace, not really European expectations there, but that's just the one section I could slot them into. I could see that being a draw, entertaining draw, maybe a 2-2, full of players that are looking to impress going forward. A few defensive mistakes from both those teams in recent weeks, but Fulham now with Mitrovic back, and they're looking decent. And I think both of these teams will want a positive last few games of the season just to take them into the summer with some good vibes, and then they can recruit and then try and push again for a mid-table top 10 finish next season in the Premier League. When we talk about Newcastle-Leicester, Nick, we have to remind everyone we are filming ahead of Newcastle against Brighton, so we don't know the outcome of that yet. But this is a huge game for both teams, right? Both Leicester in the relegation scrap and Newcastle in the top 4 situation as well. Are you concerned as a Newcastle fan with Liverpool just lurking on the edge there, or are you feeling this is going to be a pretty comfortable home win against Leicester?
Yeah, no, I am concerned, but largely because these are new experiences. These are new places to be in. I think you'll get a performance out of Newcastle. I also have some ghosts. I mean, we've seen James Madison, Harvey Barnes, Jamie Vardy absolutely haunt Newcastle. And I know this is a different team, but a desperate Leicester team that I think has more character than they've shown in recent weeks. And is probably due at least one more moment in the sun during their Premier League tenure. And I could see this on very little rest for Newcastle. I could see this perhaps being that incident. So while I will be okay wherever Newcastle finish, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm content with where they've come so far. In a vacuum, I do have fear of this game.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think this is maybe a draw, which probably helps neither team in their respective scraps. Probably helps Leicester more, I think, when you look around them. But we look at the other sort of relegation games here, Andy. Wolves against Everton. Wolves are out of it. They're fine. They're comfy. But Everton obviously need a big 3 points here. And they've got a favourable schedule compared to the other teams down there to finish the season. So I feel like they get this win away at Wolves, and that pretty much is it for them. And they stay up. And Leicester, and then West Ham host Leeds. So Leeds as well, really struggling. Obviously, Sam Allardyce saw them draw against Newcastle. Impressive the fight and spirit they had. But I don't think it's going to be enough to save them. I probably see this as the real pivotal weekend in the relegation scrap, and what pretty much will keep Everton up and pretty much relegate Leicester and Leeds. Do you agree with that?
You're giving a lot of benefit of the doubt to Everton right there, Joe. They've not defended well for a while, and I think that's the thing that's kind of getting lost about Everton. They're not defending like a Sean Dyche team. 6 of their last 9 games, they've given up multiple goals. They've scored multiple goals just 3 times in those games, and I think they've only gotten 1 win out of those 9. And so it's just, it doesn't matter how you stay up and avoid relegation in the Premier League. But when Sean Dyche was hired, we all said, okay, they're going to defend much better. They're going to be tougher to beat. They're not going to beat themselves, and they've kind of not defended very well, and they've beaten themselves a lot lately. Outside of just absolutely shocking Brighton 5-1 in that one game, I've not seen anything from them in a couple of months, since really the first couple of games of Dyche's appointment, that makes me think, okay, this team has come to life, or this team has energized itself, or this team is pulling in the same direction. So I have a lot more questions about Everton than I suppose that you guys do. And Wolves at Molineux is a tough proposition. So I kind of like Wolves to get something out of that one, if I'm honest.
All right. That will really confuse the relegation situation heading into the final weekend of the season. So why not? Let's root for chaos. And I'm sorry if you're fans of Leeds, Leicester, Everton, or Nottingham Forest, but that's going to mean it goes all the way down to the final 90 minutes of the season. So that's going to be very exciting indeed.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.